Hey, hello, leaders. Hey, this is Paul Grau Jr., and welcome back to Run to Your Leadership Challenges. So, today I want to talk about a quote that I heard while listening to an Audible book. And the book was Man's Search for Himself. And the author was Rollo May. Now, I don't know when exactly this book came out, but I think it was quite a while ago. But the quote was: the opposite of courage in today's world is not cowardness, it's conformity. Man, just think about that. The opposite of courage is conformity. That was written a long time ago, and it was speaking specifically about that time, that era. And I'm talking probably mid 1900s. And this Rollo May said that opposite of courage is not cowardice, but conformity. Now, I think that's applying today as well. I think it's as applicable today as it was 75 years ago. Because if you think about it, let's just talk about conformity. What is conformity? It's doing what is the norm. It's doing what's expected. It's doing what everybody expects you to do, what's accepted by society. It's what everybody else is doing. It's the standards and the policies. That's conformity. But I think when it comes down to conformity, and I think what the author was trying to say in the book was not conformity as far as or a society goes in your actual actions. He was more talking about thinking and how we think so much like everybody else to the point that we're almost afraid of thinking something different. We're almost afraid of saying something different that's out of the norm. Because if you think about it, what is different? What's being different? Well, it's a lot more difficult, where conformity is really easy because everybody else is doing it. And if you're doing what they're doing, it's accepted, right? You're good. You're in the good. But now all of a sudden, if you're different, well, first of all, it's more difficult. But what is different? Different is considered not normal. Different is considered odd by some people. It's even ridiculed by people. I think being different can be a struggle at times because it's going against the grain. It's like a fish swimming upstream. All the other fish are going downstream, and you're swimming up. You're swimming against the current. And I think that's what the opposite of conformity is. It's that courage to do something different, to think on your own. And I think a lot of times we conform to things only because that's what's expected. And we fail to think about whether or not it's right or wrong. And sometimes when we conform to ideas and principles and policies and standards and, what society tells us, sometimes we kind of get this feeling or this thought like, man, I don't know, this just doesn't seem right. But then our conscience may say, this may not be right, but then again, something just tells us, well, just do it because everybody else is doing it, so it's got to be right. Well, I think we can't be further than the truth. I think doing what everybody else is doing is accepted, but it's not always right. And that's why, conformity, there's a whole lot of people riding a conformity bus, but there's just a few riding on that different bus because it's difficult. You don't want to be ridiculed. You don't want to stand out in the crowd. You don't want to tell people that you're not normal and you're different. And I think this is also the case in living out our beliefs as leaders. I think it comes down to doing what's right as leaders. A lot of times we have to go against the grain and think outside the box to lead certain people. Because if you think about it, we're all different. We all have our unique skills and characters and behaviors. And to be a great leader, you can't necessarily conform to what everybody else is doing. Say if you got somebody that's giving you difficulties at work, are you applying the same type of leadership to that person like you're applying to everybody else? Well, sadly enough, if you are, you're probably not going to reach that person that's different. There's probably a reason why they're being difficult. And it may be because we're treating them like everybody else, or we're leading them like everybody else. We're just conforming to the way of leading instead of really thinking and getting to know that person and getting to know what makes that person tick. So, what are you going to do today? Are you just going to conform? Are you just going to bypass any kind of deep thought and decision making and just conform to what everybody else is doing? Or are you going to dare to be different? Are you going to dare to think outside the box? Follow your gut instincts. And when that conformity tells you, well, this might not be right, well, maybe you should trust that voice inside your head telling you that it's not quite right. Now, this whole opposite of courage is conformity. It really got me thinking. And one scripture, one Bible verse came to mind, and it was Matthew 7:13. Actually, Matthew 7:13 to 14. Because this is what it says. It says, enter through the narrow gate. For wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. Man, I don't know about you, but that kind of goes right along hand in hand with this whole courage, being different versus conformity and doing what everybody else is doing. Like that scripture says, wide is the gate that leads to destruction, and many people enter through it because it's easy. It's easy to go through that wide gate because everybody's going through it. But it also says it says in the beginning, enter through the narrow gate. But the gate is small and narrow, and the road leads to life, but only a few find it. So I just want to challenge you today. Are you thinking? Are you thinking for yourself? Or are you just going along with what everybody else is doing? Are you just conforming when it comes to decisions and doing what's expected? Or, man, are you raising above and doing what's expected and, not conforming? So think about that. And I'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, run to your challenges. We'll see you.